Welcome back, everyone. We have a new episode today of Before Don't Drop podcast, flying without Shipper, flying without Phil, and we have three guests today. They are the recent probationary firefighter graduates of Sioux City Fire Rescue. I'm excited about this. This is going to be a lot of fun. Today we're going to take a look into what probation is like on Sioux City Fire, and who better to tell us than the people that just got done just last month. So real quick, I'll introduce the group. We got Jordy Reinders, we got Dom Trobaugh, and we got Lucas Farrington. And they are our most recent probationary firefighter graduates on Sioux City Fire. And guys, thanks for coming out today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. You guys are a lot better than the normal crew I'm usually with around here. I don't know. It was funny because Devin actually called me, or I talked to him yesterday, and he's like, "We got the podcast tomorrow," and I'm like, "I don't think there's room for all five of us." So I hope he took that well. I will miss those guys today, but yeah, today we're here to look into what probation looks like on the fire department. It's a recruiting year for us. We're gonna have applications open here soon, so maybe there's some guys that apply that want to listen and figure out what their first year on Sioux City Fire looks like. But real quick, why don't we just start with who you guys are, where you're from, and how you guys came to Sioux City Fire. So Jordy, you want to start?
Yep. Jordy Reinders. I'm 31. I'm from Orange City, and yeah. Before I came to Sioux City Fire, I was doing my graduate degree in entomology, so the study of bugs at the University of Nebraska. Had a life change and had an opportunity to join Sioux City Fire, so I applied, and the rest is history.
So when did you say this is like the fire department is the change I want to make? What was the moment? Did you just see a ad in the paper or what?
I think I saw it on Facebook, and there was that Facebook Live that you guys had done at one of the stations.
It worked on someone.
Yeah, so it worked well. That's how I saw it. And
okay.
I think the day before the application period closed is the day that I applied.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Wow.
So.
And did you have your EMT or anything?
I was in the process of getting my EMT at that time.
Okay. So was that part of your life change? Like you kind of wanted to get into like emergency services, and then you saw our application and said, yeah, I'll throw my name in.
Yeah. So I was in Lincoln, and I was originally thinking about applying to Lincoln Fire.
Sure.
In their application, that was the first time that they required you to have your EMT at the time of application, and I was in class, so a few of us in that class got thrown out at that time. So
perfect.
And I saw Sioux City, and I was like, it's closer to home. Might as well give it a shot.
Awesome. Did you test anywhere else?
I started the process at Council Bluffs, and then I got the job offer here in the middle of that process.
Yeah, 'cause you guys were the first three off of this most recent list, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. And what were you doing with your entomology degree?
So I got my master's and my PhD, and then for about 2 years I was just doing research at the university.
And just want to do something different.
Wanted to do something different.
Awesome. Yep. I love that. I'm sure you didn't get any like heat or flack for having your PhD and all that. And
nope, never.
Signed to be a lowly fireman.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Doctor.
Are you technically a doctor?
I guess. PhD doctor.
A lot of people go to school for 7 years. Dom, we know a little bit about the Trobaugh family. You recently did a cool story on KCAU, I believe.
Yep.
A lot of people know your dad. A lot of people know your grandpa. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yep. My name's Dominic Trobaugh. I'm here from Sioux City, and obviously, since my dad and my grandpa and great grandpa were on, I just got to know the department growing up, and it was something I always wanted to do. So once the application process opened, I immediately put my
so it was a no-brainer. You didn't have to be convinced or anything to take the test.
I already knew it was something I wanted to do.
Yeah, so. I think your grandpa said he was pretty excited talking with you about it, and kind of vice versa.
Yeah, they were all pretty proud that I was at least trying to pursue it, and then eventually throughout the process did well on everything and got the job offer, and
perfect.
Super happy.
You're about what, 22, 23?
Yep, 23.
23. So you left high school and right into education to try and set yourself up for this?
Yeah, so I actually started at WIT. Did my generals there, and then transferred up to USD to get a degree in physical education.
Okay, so that was kind of a backup plan if maybe this didn't work out.
Yeah, my dad always encouraged me. He's like, obviously I'd love for you to be a firefighter, but make sure you go and get something to fall back on if you need to.
Yeah, no, you can't ever take a degree away from anyone, and for whatever reason you wake up, can't do this job, or for some reason I hate this job. I don't know what, maybe someone would, but it's always good to have options.
Yeah, and as I was going through that in my senior year, which was my student teaching year, I quickly realized that I wanted this job even more.
Mm-hmm.
Did not want to be a teacher,
want
really.
Think you're gonna like try and sub on your days off or anything?
It's something I might pursue eventually, but I'm happy with where I'm at right now. You know, if there's a time that comes where I'm like, okay, I want something else like that on the side, I can always go pursue that.
Yeah, I know there's a couple firemen that have sat in, and like I know Joel's done like study hall at him. Yeah. I can only imagine how that goes, but
yep.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a terrible off day.
You know, it was PE, so it's not like, you know, I'm not a math teacher, you're not a social studies teacher, but it's still like,
yeah, not trying to teach rocket appliances or anything.
No.
Awesome.
But
and on your days off, I guess what were we just school before the fire department, right?
Yep.
And then kind of on your days off, I kind of a little outdoorsman, right? You like do a little hunting and fishing.
I like to hunt, fish, golf all summer usually.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much.
And we'll talk about that, but you're in a great, all you guys, everyone here, we're in a great spot to do those things. If you like to enjoy your days off and have side hobbies and side hustles and things like that, fire department's a great job for it. Yep. So, Lucas, what about you, man?
Lucas Farrington. I grew up in Rockwell City. It's a small town outside of Fort Dodge.
Yep, got Sparky's gas station, right?
You bet.
Yeah.
Right off Highway 20. Been an EMT paramedic for 7 years or so. I went to Morningside College at Morningside University now. Took biology and chemistry there, graduated. I was applying to medical schools. Did that for a couple years. Spent a lot of money.
I want to make money.
Yep.
So.
Spent a lot of money, didn't get in. At the time, I was already working as an EMT back home. You know, on the weekends, go there and pick up, do a 48, and then drive on back, go to class. But in that process, I decided, you know, I really enjoy what I'm doing. I want to keep doing it. So my wife and I moved down to Arizona, worked down there for a couple of years, got my medic's license, and down in Arizona was kind of my first exposure to career fire.
Sure.
And so they started kind of putting the bug in my ear. It's like, hey, you can do more than, you know, just ride the box. And I seeing what they were doing, I really liked it, decided I want to be a part of it. And so worked on my medic and moved back here. I didn't know at the time that, you know, Sioux City didn't have to have like your fire certs or anything when you apply. You get it all on the job. And so my plan was, okay, I'm going to go to WIT, get my fire certs, and then I'll apply.
Yeah.
And I think it was Lieutenant Nelson actually talked to me. He's like, no, you don't need any of that.
Yeah.
Apply. It's open right now.
Yeah,
so
that's,
I did.
you know, like it's really important, especially with us going into a recruiting year, that people know that. I think we're a unique department, EMT basics, the minimum, GED, you know, background check, things like that. But I encourage anyone that, you know, is young, high school, want to do this. They want to go take their Fire 1, Fire 2, get their fire science degree. That's great. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But make sure you get that EMT and that paramedic. That's what's going to be the golden ticket to anywhere. So make sure to pass that along with anyone that sees you. It's like, hey, I want to be a firefighter. Yeah, so then you guys make the list. Obviously, we're very successful. What was the moment like when you found out? Lucas, I know you were here on EMS before, working as a paramedic, but what was it like when you found out you were going to go to the fireside?
It was pretty good. I was actually out bowling with my family.
Okay.
I got the call from Carrie, and they knew right away what it was when my face lit up, and so yeah, it was a good time.
It was full bore, no mixed emotions or anything.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm happy for you. What about Don? What about you?
I was student teaching up at Beersford and got the call and just kind of made my day, obviously. And
sure,
my dad told my dad and my family, and they were all super happy for me. And
I remember your dad saying like, "Oh, they'll probably put him towards the end or something if they hire him." So.
I didn't expect to be one of the first ones taken.
Yep.
So I was, but when it did happen, I was very fortunate.
No one knows. I've even asked Chief Everett. I'm like, how do you make that process? And it's like, it's still kind of a mystery.
Right.
So anyone that sits on that list, you could be 1, you could be 20. It doesn't matter. You never know why he's going to do something or what he's looking for.
Exactly.
Or, who impressed him and who didn't. So,
yeah.
Jordy, what about you?
Yeah, I was walking on campus and got the call from Carrie and probably screamed out loud, like yes or something like that, because I was just really excited to get going.
Yeah.
But we had to wait on Dom to finish school, so that took a little bit longer in the process.
No, we were waiting on Lucas to finish his vacation.
No.
Seems like you guys got along very well in your first year, which is good. That's fun. There's numbers I came on with Johansson, Dave, and then we had Derek DeWitt with us a little bit. I always kind of liked when there was 3. It's power of numbers, especially down at Station 3.
Yeah, it was good.
Spreads the heat out a little bit too.
Definitely.
So then you guys get started, and Lucas, you knew about Sioux City Fire obviously because you were on the EMS side. Dom, you know about your family. Jordy, you were kind of fresh meat to everything. What were the expectations kind of going into it, I guess? What were you thinking?
Yeah, you see things in videos or in movies, and it's like when you're on probation, it's going to be a nightmare for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations other than I saw that. But I watched the podcast with Captain Johnson, and I was like, if we have this guy, we're going to be golden. This guy's the best dude we could get.
Dusty's a good one.
That's who we got. Lieutenant Dykstra's the same way, so they're great. We did catch a lot of heat, but we also learned so much.
Yeah.
I think that was the other expectation, was that we're just going to have, especially me, because I didn't really know anything. I'm going to have so much to learn. District's going to be really hard. It's just a wealth of knowledge that we're going to have to know and learn. And, they bring us out in the bay. All right, find this. All right, where's this? Things like that. That's just...
So really didn't know a ton about, I guess you said Dusty on the podcast, but then anyone else in the, I guess who were some of the first people you met on Sioux City Fire? And maybe, I feel like probies get so much advice thrown at them. Mm-hmm. Anybody that comes their way in their first few weeks, they want to just give them like tidbits on like how to be successful. And what was your kind of first exposure there?
Yeah, I think the first real exposure was during the CPAT. I had several guys. I couldn't remember most of them. I remember one was George Glass, but he was just
great dude,
giving me advice, and
yeah, that's George all the way.
Yep, giving me advice on things to do during the process or what to get looking at for the interview questions or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's what we'll talk about in a little bit. Like you said, like you take some heat, they're like hard on you, but we'll talk about why that is and the purpose that serves. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. What about you guys? Any expectations kind of how the first year was going to go? Dom, I'm sure your dad put horror stories in your mind. And
he warned me of the worst, what could happen, and then just kind of what that year entails, what your job is, or the main, you're there to train, you're there to learn everything you need to know. Mm-hmm. And like Jordy mentioned, they did a great job. We couldn't have asked for better officers, It was funny because Captain Johnson had actually grown up with my dad, so it was just funny how it worked out. Ended up being my captain on probation, and it was just a great year. District and all the hands-on skills that we learned. Just going through all that, you realize quickly that like those are the main tools you need to be successful. So it was really good.
Absolutely, yeah. And they talk about like, when you're a probationary, it's like you need that purpose, direction, motivation. If you can come in there like already having that motivation, then the rest is easy. And there's some good people down at Station 3. They're there for a reason. Mm-hmm. They spend extra time past maybe the normal hours of a firework day. Not that we have normal hours, but really working with you guys. And they never want to see anyone fail. Like if you guys fail, they fail. That's so they're there for a reason, and they all care about the probationaries and do a good job.
Yep.
Lucas, what about you?
I was expecting the sit down, shut up, pay attention, do your job. Yeah. And there was a lot of that, but, a lot of that came with a purpose. It was always, if you're going to catch heat, you're catching it for a reason. You know what you need to do to be better for it.
Sure.
So, there was never any, like, truly malicious intent in any of it.
Belittling or really putting down.
Yeah, and that was kind of refreshing, I guess, because that I was expecting, they tell you if they're making fun of you, they like you, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I was also expecting the, kind of beat you down.
Oh, like drill sergeant.
Yeah, a little bit, but
day one stuff.
And there was some of that, but it was also, it's all with a purpose. They're trying to make you the best firefighter that they can make you, and a lot of that's on you, but it's also on them, and so.
Yeah. I remember thinking, like, when my first year was done, it was like, oh, I made it, like, I'm done. And really, unfortunately, it's like a 5-6 forever process where now you're going to go to the fleet, and you got 3 shifts, and you have how many rigs, and you have how many crews. Not one of them, those guys know you. Not one of those guys, you haven't fought fire with any of them. So Yeah, you may earn it with that crew, and that's great, but you don't work with that crew anymore.
Right.
So now you got to. They're just trying to set you up with a good foundation so you can go be successful, and sometimes that's tough to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about some of the challenges? What were the biggest challenges throughout the year?
I think my biggest challenge was probably the districts. Just the memorization of, your 100 blocks and your main routes, where to go, and then just the little streets in town that anyone on the street might not even think, oh, that's a street. Or as someone in town, you'd ask them, hey, where's this? I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of those smaller streets within town that, we have to know. If we get something, we got to be able to get there.
Sure.
That was probably my biggest challenge, was just the memorization of things and getting that to stick.
Perfect. Yeah, the district is one of those things where the foundation is just so important, because you're never going to remember it all, but you got to know when this street comes in, that's in Riverside and that's not in Leeds.
Yeah.
You can't have a fire come out and be Google mapping your first turn. You got to know.
Right.
We may, officers and a crew, they can walk you in on the final turn, the final height, the 100 block or whatever it is, but you got to know left or right out the door, and then those main arteries in town. Am I taking Gordon or Lewis or
Right.
Floyd or whatever it is, to get at least close to it, and then we can kind of start to figure out, that street doesn't run through or something like that. And then you're driving the truck and you think like, oh, I can't get a truck down there. That street's not very wide.
Yep.
You gotta get out and drive, or else you don't know, and it's humbling.
Right. And that was one of the fun parts, was just after shift, we'd all go and drive and get to know each street, So it was good.
Yeah, it's fun. What about you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just the amount of knowledge that we had to retain, and for me, probably more hands-on stuff, because I haven't done a lot of that kind of stuff. I'm pretty good at memorization. I've been in school for a million years, so I've come up with different tricks to make sure that I can remember things. So district wasn't as bad for me.
Yep.
But some of the hands-on stuff was probably the biggest challenge for me. But like you said earlier, since there's 3 of us, we could help each other with our weaknesses and when somebody else had a strength. So I helped Dom with district, or Dom would help me with some hands-on stuff.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. Probie partners especially, and I think you're even evaluated on it. You got to stick together. You don't want to. They may even try and do some stuff to like throw a wrench in there and get someone to turn or flip, or I'm gonna take this opportunity that they're shortcoming, that I'm gonna look better. So now I'm the star child, and that makes me like, that's not how you're supposed to do it. You're a team. We're a team through our whole careers. Right. So I'm happy to hear that. You guys helping each other out. And for me, like Dave and I were that way. There was things that I got that Dave didn't. I couldn't start the chainsaw, and Dave is like, could take it apart and fix it and change the oil and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So what about you, Lucas?
I think just staying on top of it all. I mean, probation it's an elephant, and so you eat it one bite at a time. But at some point, you reach like I'm only like halfway there.
Sure.
And it's just so hard to, keep that routine, keep studying district, keep studying up on the skills and everything, keeping up with your essentials. And so having, these guys help a lot. It was a lot of times, after we're done working out, we go out to the bay and quiz each other. And so that's usually like 9, 10 o'clock at night, but
no, that's good. You want to show that steady growth, and one of the hardest things is you get through something and then you review on something for month 2. Like, I completely forgot that, and just because it's one bite at a time, but everything you learn up to that point can also be tested at any time. So that's a big challenge.
It's definitely a marathon.
Yeah, like month 2 and 3 actually, I don't think are that bad compared to like month 8, 9, and 10, because there's just so much you guys have inhaled at this point.
You have all that knowledge that is now in that box, so they can just throw out there.
So I don't care who wants to take this question, but can someone just give an overview of kind of what the year looked like in terms of where you guys started, what you started with knowledge-wise, and then all the way until the end?
Yeah. So
you guys can all answer, a little bit too, kind of discussion.
You pretty much start the year by, as soon as you get hired, after you get through all your physicals and everything, they start you on what's called like a 4-week. It's pretty much like what am I trying to say?
Condensed academy, basically.
Yep. It's pretty much like an academy condensed into 4 weeks. And in that time, they're teaching you mainly your hands-on for what you need to do. If you get a fire on your first shift off, you got to be able to do, pull the hose line, how to use it, throw ladders, anything like that. So that main 4 weeks is just giving you that core knowledge to start as a firefighter, as a probationary. I don't know if you guys want to go on to the next part, but
Yeah, after that, we go on shift for the next 11 months. During that time, we have Essentials of Firefighting, so it's basically a textbook that we go through to learn more in depth on certain topics, fire dynamics, building structure, ladders, knots, all that kind of stuff. And at the same time as we're doing that, we're also going through the districts. So each station's district is broken up into 9 or so quizzes, and then you have to know how to get to any address in that. And then at the end of those 9, there's a test. And then at the end of however long it takes you to get through all the station districts, then at the end of that, there's a overall district test.
So just district alone, you got about, we got 7 districts.
Yep.
Each district has 9 quizzes and a test. So that's 70 shifts you're doing just district, and that's every day you're getting a new quiz, 10 questions that you got to know
Yeah.
for. And that's just the district. So
pretty much for the 9 months straight, you can plan on a quiz every day on just that different section that you were given the shift before. And they had a great system. As you get to know it, you get to know the best way that you need to study. Just with how they break it up, it's very good for, okay, I only have this section of town. I'm going to focus on that the next 2 days off, and then you can, do good on that quiz, and then just try to retain as much as you can throughout that full 9 quizzes, because you have that final test at the end. So.
You think how many district questions you see, that's the best way to learn, is really just to kind of, you take just a chunk of each city, know an address. If you can get there, then you get to all of them.
Right.
You kind of you actually memorize it all.
Yeah, and then the 100 blocks are huge too. Is just save that'll save you on a lot of them. You're like, oh shoot, where's this at? Okay, think of my 100 blocks. It's got to be close to this.
Yeah, every address. So that's Lakeport and Ravine Park.
Right.
Yep.
And then, so Lucas, what about the fire stuff? How do they test? Test your fire skills.
Every quarter, every 3 months, we have skills eval. And basically everything that you've learned in your essentials book up to that point is fair game. So I remember our first skills eval, we pulled hose, we hoisted some tools.
We made a hydrant.
Put our gear on.
And we put our gear on.
That I almost failed.
But look at you now. You're way better for it.
Yep.
But so then our next one, at our 6 months, I think we did hoisting again.
Yep.
Did some ladders. So
It goes up a little bit.
yeah,
It gets a little harder.
All the way to our 12 month, we flew the aerial on truck 3, pumped, cross connected. We had a burst hose line, and so we had you're trying to troubleshoot all those things, and so by the end of it, you are very competent in what you're doing, so that when you do go out floating, if you catch a driver's spot, pretty early, may or may not happen, but if you do, they know that you're gonna be good to go.
Yeah. At what point did you guys start driving?
About 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that comes with, you got to go to what they call truck university, right? That's the truck driver,
Yep.
shipper, Kuehl, those guys, Rentschler. They teach you everything you know about the aerials and how trucks work and angles and your range and what you can do with them and where you need to park them and collapse zones and things like that.
Yep.
And then you go to the engine side. What kind of stuff do they teach you there?
It's a lot of math, but at the core, it's just water in, water out.
Yep.
That's what that was one of the big things that Brandon DeRocher always told us.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's water in, water out.
Yeah, I do remember that, because it is what it is. You learn everything you know about hydraulics, and it's good to know. But then when it's all said and done, it's the water coming in and the water going
Right.
out. And 95% of the time, it's usually just pre-connects. But once
Yeah.
you get into your aerials and your 2.5s and your sting guns, it's
Yep.
a little complicated. Maybe you get some crappy hydrants. It doesn't happen too often, but it's good to know that information.
Yeah.
Then they test and review all that, and then it's just at the end, one big review, and you're good to go. You get the blessing, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And then you're off to floater life, which I've already. It's been a whole different story.
Yeah, it's different. It's like
So,
it's a culture shock.
yeah.
And that's right. You want to come in and with that little bit of the timid, I'm not going to do this, not going to do this, and you want the guys to be like, get in the TV room, get in here, get involved, because it is a different department.
Right.
But you definitely don't want to get too comfortable either.
Yeah.
Because that can go the other way for you.
Yeah, it's almost like a whole new start.
Yes.
You have your basic skills. They kind of know you, depending on what shift you go to, but you're trying to build your reputation again, kind of.
Yeah.
Because those guys,
Especially if
they
you're
may
on
have
your
heard
shift.
something good from you off your other shift where you came from, but you know, you got to do a good job of putting in the work just like you're a probie again. Almost.
Yeah, and that's another reason why those guys are so hard on you, because you're a representation of them. So you go to first shift, and then first shift gets you, and then they're calling your old crew, and you're like, man, this guy's really good, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And they want you to be successful. They would rather have you mess up 100 times in front of them and get yelled at then before you have to go out to engine 1 and mess up in front of that guy.
Right.
That's or on a fire where it really counts.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite parts of probation? Because it is a fun year. It was one of my favorite years. It's cool to have a crew right away. So what were some of the highlights?
I mean, just general day to day. I know always we always jumped in to help cook dinner and everything. So that was kind of our time we were still probies, but at that point it's like you're kind of part of the crew, you know, you're sitting around helping cook and stuff like that. And then you go and sit at the probie table for an hour while they're watching a movie, and you can't look at the TV or anything.
Sitting there twirling your thumbs.
Yeah, just waiting. But
yeah, real quick, we talk about some of the probie rules that, you know, what is the culture like versus a probationary or the expectations versus regular crew?
Yeah, so as a probie, you know, you're expected to be the one doing the work. You should always be one of the first to the rig. If a call comes in, you should be in your seat before the officer has their gear on, type thing. Always keep an eye on the coffee pots, making sure there's always coffee. If the phone rings, you better be sprinting.
And then some fun games there too, you know, with like literally pushing guys out of the way to get to the phone.
Yeah, I remember before we got our new phones, you know, it'd ring out in the app bay and everything, and Dom and Jordy are going over the pump panel, and I'm rounding the front of engine 3, and I biff it. One of them biffs it, and the other one who actually got the phone's just laughing. But
yeah, trying to calm down before you answer it. Station 3.
Yeah, you're out of breath.
Yeah, but and then on a fire scene too, don't stop working until, you know, you're told to stop working. There's always a job to do. Always look for something. Even around the station, you know, day to day, you don't have any calls, but, you know, if they say, oh, you're done for the day, find something to do.
Yep.
We were always out at 4:30 doing the rigs. Whenever Cap would come out, say, hey, can I help? No.
Respectfully, Cap,
no.
Cap.
Get lost.
Go to the TV room. You're fine.
Doesn't sound like him.
But yeah, so I mean, one of the things that they always tell you is to be seen, not heard. And so even
you
when
are somebody.
Yeah, you are somebody.
Somebody needs to answer the phone.
You are somebody.
You are that somebody.
But yeah, there's always stuff to do. Always stay busy. If you're in the back room, you know, it's easy to kind of get complacent. They're not back there with you, but, you know, try not to have your laptop out unless you're studying district, you're studying essentials, kind of stuff like that. And
sure.
No phones.
No phones.
No phones.
Unless
just
it's
keep
an
it in your
emergency,
locker.
pretty much.
Honestly, yeah, that's good advice, because there's such a distraction, and also you don't need anyone insinuating like, oh yeah, you're cheating or something like that. But
Yeah.
I'd imagine though too, it wasn't all serious back there. You get bored and play your games.
It's kind of like your little own spot.
Safe
as
spot,
probies, you know. You can still obviously get quizzed. They can come in there at any time. All right, we're going out. We're doing 10 questions in the bay or whatever, you know. And it's like, usually that's our safe zone.
Yeah.
We can kind of debrief a little bit, talk about things that happened that day or whatever. So it's,
yeah, you talked about like the be seen, be heard type thing. It's like if you're just around doing nothing, that's usually when the pop quizzes start coming in. It's like you either stay busy or we'll make you busy.
Yeah, most of the time, as long as you're doing a good job, staying good on your district, you know, doing good on your quizzes, your tests, then usually they did a good job of, all right, they're doing pretty good, we're just going to let them do their thing. But
sure.
Anytime they can quiz you, so
Yeah.
just got to be ready.
Gotcha. So, yeah, kind of back to my original question, some of the favorite parts. You know, talk about the day-to-day stuff and the cooking. What else?
I think my favorite part was racing these two to the sink.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
You got to, as a probie, it's a big thing, you know, being that first guy up there, not letting your officers do dishes. So I think we did a great job of making sure our officers didn't do dishes. We may have broken a couple plates. think I
couple
checked-
forks may
I
have
think I
ended
may
up
have
under the
checked
fridge.
Lucas into the counter a few times, and
I got battle scars.
he had some bruises from that. We had fun doing that. That was probably one of my favorite parts.
Oh, I love that. Jordy, what about you?
Yeah, I think to go along with that, I think we did a really good job of just making sure our officers didn't have to do a whole lot. Even like when we were doing training, we'd go pull the hose away from them, or if they're trying to squeegee the floor during scrub out, we'd go steal the squeegee away.
Sure.
It was kind of a fun game that we always had.
Yeah.
But I think for me, one of my favorite parts of probation was driving.
Okay.
So I just really
Yeah,
enjoyed
it's a pretty
driving.
cool moment. You guys sit there and you're in charge, and it's nerve-wracking right away.
Yep.
You was talking about driving a little more. How many shifts do you drive each truck and the engine for?
So I think I ended up driving the truck about 4 shifts, maybe 5 shifts. We kind of got to a point where they were like, oh, you're going to be off probation early, so we got to try and squeeze these in. And then we ended up not getting off early, so it was kind of just a weird type of thing. And then we had 2 other guys come to our shift, so then we got floated out a little more.
Okay.
And then the engine, I'd say we got to drive at least half the month,
Okay.
maybe a little more to back from EMS calls or things like that. But we got to drive full time for at least 2 weeks, I think.
Anybody get a pump or stack or a fire or anything?
I think I was the only one who caught a fire while driving.
Yeah, that
driving the
sounds
truck,
right.
but we didn't stack or anything. But
No.
it was still kind of fun to be in that driver role, and
Sure.
you got a million things that you're trying to get done.
Right.
and-
My first year, we were really slow until we drove, and I think stacked it at a couple and then pumped at like 4 fires. It was
Wow.
crazy. It was like an insane number, but it was fun. I do like
Nice.
that, but probably I missed out on going in on some fires, which was the downside.
Yeah.
What did you learn, about yourself over the last year? Like just going through that marathon of the whole year, and then in terms of like, what did you learn about the fire service?
Not to take yourself seriously.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
If you can joke about yourself, you'll make it a long ways in this job.
Yeah, being humble goes a long ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Just owning up to mistakes. I know I made plenty, and we all did on probation.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, hey, if you're talking to your officer, I know I did that wrong. Not gonna happen again.
That's the
Just learning from your mistakes.
and everyone's done it.
Yeah.
Everyone from chief all the way down, like everyone has done the year you're doing. You are doing nothing new. There's nothing about your guys' probation that's like, well, the guys before me didn't have to do this. And I think that's always important to remember as well.
Right.
Lucas,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I remember one. I remember it like it was yesterday. We had a fire. I was on the truck. It was over in Morningside on Pomegranate, and we had gotten cleared, and we're backing down the street or whatever, and I think we ended up pretty much going around the block, and realized that I forgot to put the scene light back in the rig.
Mm-hmm.
So we get there, and we're helping reload hose with one of the other engines, and LT comes over. He's like, "You guys forget something?"
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Scene light. You're sitting there like, crap. you
Yeah.
know? And we got back to the station. I'm like, LT, sorry, I forgot that. He's like, it's all right. You'll learn from it. Just don't let it happen again.
Absolutely.
It's like, that was one of the first things I'm like, all right, you made the mistake, forgot the tools on scene. Just don't do it again, And I'm sure it will happen eventually again, but just owning up to it and, just learn from everything.
For sure. Yeah, I like that. I forgot my gear on an EMS call once, and then Jesse Pedersen was down there at the time, and he pretended that a fire came in, and I just bought it, so I'm like going to the rig, and I have no gear, and like look at my face, I'm like, now I gotta tell him, I'm like, I don't have my gear, and so we had to drive all the way back to the station. So I got my gear on, I'm in the rig, and I'm like ready to go, and then that's when Jesse told me like there's no fire. He saw it as we were leaving, said like, okay, let's let this go. Let's get to the EMS call and do that, because it wasn't very far away.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but
Sure you learned
yeah,
from that
exactly,
one.
and that's
Yep.
the point, right? And being in the military, I remember getting some of the things you get yelled at is completely ridiculous, but the whole point is to just have this significant, emotional, I will never forget this moment event, so you never forget it when it matters, and that's
Yeah.
the whole point of it.
Yep. I'm sure none of us will forget Belcourt either.
No.
Yeah, just cul-de-sac. It's off of like 31st or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
We were on the spot, at the table in the morning, and just one of those that came in, one of those courts that kind of you can forget about after a while, and we're sitting there like we're all looking at each other like,
Is that in Sioux City?
where's this at? So yeah, that was another eye-opening. Like, all right, you got to get these courts down and everything.
Sure.
So
Lucas, what about you? What'd you learn about yourself?
Kind of piggybacking off Jordy, I suppose, is not being so serious about yourself. I know around the 3-month mark or so, I was starting to get in my head, and it was starting to affect my work and everything. Just the amount of stuff that was piling up. I know at LT and Cap sat me down and was like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, I'm sorry, just getting in my head. And they're like, you're doing fine. You're doing good. Just keep working to get better every day. And, we want to see that improvement. And then I know at my 6-month, when we had our sit down eval, they're like, you're leaps and bounds from where you were. And that is so cool to see, and you're doing a great job. We really love what we're seeing, and just hearing that feedback meant a lot, and so just kept that going forward. And so
sure. And there's something to be said about being confident in yourself, in your skills, because if you're not confident in your skills, then maybe you're a little hesitant, and that's you're almost better to make mistakes confidently than to be perfect without confidence. And I think that's just probably good advice going forward as you guys start floating now, is it start to really, you've learned the basics of probation, and now you get to go and you get to learn how maybe some other guys do some things, and these guys are going to show you some cool stuff, and you're like, oh, I never cared for how we did this, but this person shows me a new way to hold the hose or something, and like that works, and really kind of mold who you want to be as a firefighter. Now that doesn't mean we like drop the standard or anything, but like oh, I'm just going to quit wearing my air pack on like fire alarms or anything, because that's easy, but just figuring out like who you are and what makes you like an individual as well as part of a team, and just growing and getting as much knowledge and experience as you can get. And it's a really fun time, especially when all of a sudden you look back and you're like, man, I grew a lot in the last 2-3 years floating, going to fires and getting all this experience and all these calls. And they say this is where the fun begins. It really is where the fun begins.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast, like, once you go through that year, you have your basic knowledge, and a lot of it just comes natural after a while. I've already noticed in the 3 weeks I've been floating, it's like some of that stuff that before you would have had to really think about. You're like, oh, I just did that just by habit, because you had that full year of probation. It does a great job.
Absolutely. How was your guys this year for fires? You guys have any good fires?
If you ask Devin, he'll probably tell you we didn't go on a fire all year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's not a 4-story fully involved. It doesn't count.
That's right.
it was no Ida.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we started off with a pretty good summer. We had about one a month, and it was funny because it'd be like the first week of the month we'd get a fire. And it was for like the first 4 months, I think, and then it finally went downhill after that. But I think the first fire was our trailer fire, probably.
Yep.
Regency. Yeah, that place is good for burning like 1 or 2 down
July 3rd.
I swear that's like a pro B training ground anymore, just because like we burned 3 down. It seems.
It was a good time just because that was the first time, it was a fully involved trailer.
Yeah.
So it was just hot.
Yeah.
You step out of the rig and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's
finally
coming,
get that.
Yeah.
So that's what it feels like to be close to, a fire. But yeah, it was.
And that was like the 4th 4-tap that day. The other 3 weren't anything. We got canceled on all of them, and then you hear that, and that's first due for us at Station 3. So
I swear, sometimes like a fire comes in like a certain address. You're like, if you ever get a fire at 4101 Gordon Drive, the Regency Trailer Court, that thing is gonna be going.
Yep.
There is no doubt about it. I think I've seen like just the 1 out of 3 shifts that I work is like 4 or 5 fires there. It's crazy. And there were 6s a couple times. Had one on probation.
I was just going to ask, how's that adrenaline rush for your first fire or any fire that when that 4-tap comes in?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to even explain until you actually get to do it. But I know every time a call came in, especially a 4-tap, my heart rate just skyrockets. And you're racing out to the rig, getting your gear on as fast as you can. You get in. A lot of times, whether it's Jordy or Lucas in the back of the truck or engine or whatever, and you're looking over at him like, let's go, we're about to do this,
Let's get it
because that's
done.
your first fire and your first time getting to use those skills that you learn. You're ready to go. It's fun.
There's a moment in like when you go to a fire and maybe they say like we don't know if everyone's out, or a vehicle entrapment, or there's a car on fire or something, where that I always felt that like it was like, how are we going to do this? Am I going to take care of this big thing? And then what you realize is we do it as a team, and you just have to focus on one individual role, and that is maybe the hose line or the tools, or just grab my officer's ankle and do a search. And then you're like, oh yeah, it's all one big kind of like puzzle piece that 5 rigs take care of, and next thing you know, the incident took care of itself almost.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show how much we do everything as a team. So you're not going to show up on scene and save everything by yourself. And then, you know, the first in crew can't be first in without the hydrant team, and without a RIT team, and without the truck. So
yeah,
that was always something that stuck out with me. But even I still get that adrenaline if, you know, it's like, yeah, we got multiple callers, and you know you're going to be first in.
Right.
It's a good feeling.
You can see the glow or the smoke, you know, it's like ready to go.
That'll never go away.
Yeah.
Which I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
Lucas, what about you? First fire?
Regency was
Same
first one. Yeah. I think for Jordan, Dom was the Dragon Slayer.
Dom was on the engine.
Yep. Had a dumpster fire right
like
away, but
2 or 3 weeks after we started on shift, there was a fully involved dumpster, roll-off dumpster.
Nice.
Down on Cunningham. And we roll out of the station, you can see the black smoke.
Yep.
It was just a dumpster fire, but it's like, that was
But
my
you
first.
you see it, and you're
Right,
like,
you know, I saw it driving in, and
like, maybe it's
I'm
this
like,
house.
oh, here we go, you know, rolling down Leach or whatever, wherever we went, and it was fun.
That's good.
yeah, I remember Regency. We're pulling up on Gordon over by Hy-Vee, and you just see this orange glow and all this smoke up in the sky, and it's like, all right, we got a job to do.
We're doing
Let's go.
this. It's fun. Yeah, burn like another lift assist at South Fairmont
right.
or something, right? Jordy, what about you?
Yeah, Regency. But
Okay, all three
the one
guys
that's
did that.
memorable for me, we had a garage fire in September on South Newton, and I was on the engine that day, so I got to pull the line and do most of the fire attack on that. So that's probably the most memorable one for me.
Sweet. Each day, you know, you got to come in and you talk about like you got to bring, you know, there's expectations. You got to show steady growth. You want to be like the stock market.
Yep.
How did you mentally prepare yourself coming into each shift to be prepared for the day and execute?
I think the biggest thing is just telling yourself you need to have a good work ethic, work as hard as you can that day, and just keeping that up throughout the day as much as you can, and knowing that, like we mentioned before, it's a marathon. You know, as long as you're putting that work ethic in, everything will start to come as long as you're working hard on each thing you need to do. So
Yeah, so I got like Lieutenant Fox out of dates, and we talk about how that he used to be down there in the truck, and he talks about how that year's a marathon, and he says like 2 things. One, he goes, you don't run a marathon by tripping other people, you know, so it's like everyone kind of beats their own drum. He goes, 2, there's people that can run it in 2 hours, and there's people that can run it in 10 days. Because either way, you're gonna get done with it, but you know, you can't compare yourself to the person that's just really killing it. You got to focus on yourself and just make sure that you're focused on what you can control.
yeah,
So I like that.
I think prep on your off days is big. 'Cause you're not, especially like, you know, district and everything, you're not going to learn all of that on shift. But one thing that I did that I found that really helped was, you know, we'd get off shift in the morning, we'd go drive district. I'd go home, I put my work stuff away. I didn't even look at it that first day that we were off. And then the next day, I'd spend, you know, the evening kind of studying up on what our next district quiz was going to be, reading our essentials book, whatever was going to be the plan for the next day, and utilizing your off days, because, you know, you can't do the whole year just completely focused on work every single hour of every day. You're going to burn yourself out. And so just utilizing the time off to kind of rest, refresh before you go into work that next day. And also realizing that you're going to have bad days. We all have bad days. That was one thing that was awesome, having 3 of us, was, you know, if I'm having a bad day, you know, these 2 guys are having an awesome day. They kind of help me bring me along with them. And so when they were having a bad day, you know, we'd just lift each other up and do what we could to help each other out.
Awesome. What about you, Jordy?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was remembering why I want to do this, and that's to help people. So whether that's helping coworkers, whether that's helping the old lady who's fallen, whether that's helping somebody by putting out their house that's on fire, just each day coming in, no matter what the call is, I'm going to be excited excited, I guess, to go on that call. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to try to help somebody on a day that's bad enough for them that they have to call 911, and then I'm just going to help out the other guys and girls in the firehouse.
Awesome. You know, I mentioned before it's a recruiting year. We may, you know, we're gonna have a lot of people. Like you said, I was happy to hear that, you know, you were listening to the podcast before working here. It means what we're doing is kind of the whole purpose of it is to put, you know, to the select few that maybe want to know more about Sioux City Fire or interested in working here, as a little insight to what we do. What advice would you give to anyone thinking about joining the fire service?
Yeah, if you're even thinking about doing it, I would apply. It's a long process. There's a lot of steps to it. So I always tell somebody, you know, you can always change your mind later, but you can't go back and redo it. So if you don't apply and then you decide, oh, you're a month down the road, oh, I should have done that. You should have done that. But if you apply, you go through as part of the process, you at least learn something about yourself. You'll learn what the process is like, and you say, maybe it's not for me at this time. That's okay. You can come back the next time we have applications open, but I would just apply.
Yeah. Well,
I spent 7 years in higher education, and the last year I wouldn't change for anything.
That's
I would go
awesome.
back and redo it 100%, and I wish I'd done it sooner.
Awesome. I love that. Dom, what about you?
It's the best job in the world.
You like it?
Yeah, you get to help people every single day. You get to go to work, hang out with your buddies. It's like a family at work. You know, the atmosphere is just, it's almost like, you know, you're just going and having a great time every single day. Like, yeah, you run calls, you get serious when you need to.
Yep.
Well, when you're not there, you're joking all day, making great dinners, you know, eating good food. You know, just the whole atmosphere at the firehouse is uncomparable.
Yeah.
So
And then, like, you know, we talked about at the beginning, you got your days off, so you can go hunting, go fishing. It's easy to take vacations. I take a lot of them. I know I get a lot of flack for, you know, I'm always out doing something, but that's just kind of the point my wife and I, like, we're in right now, where it's like, with her work schedule in mind, it's like every 3 months we want to go do something until we have kids, so we can say we saw the world and then move on. So it's a lot of flexibility in our work schedules to do some really cool things and have hobbies and things like that.
Yeah.
So Lucas, what about you?
Do your research. I mean, for me, it was, I kind of was delaying myself because I thought, you know, you needed, you're fire 1, fire 2, hazmat, all that. Do your research into the department that you want to get a part of. Talk with anyone who you know who is, you know, part of that department or a part of any department anywhere. They'll kind of give you the know-how. This is how you need to act. This is kind of what you should expect the application process to be like. And as Jordy was saying, it's a long process. I think the applications closed in August, and the list didn't get certified until February, something like that.
Sounds right.
And so, like, that is a process, and, you know, just sticking with it.
being patient.
Yeah, training for the CPAT, and getting on that list. You know, it's awesome. The list is good for 2 years, and you might be waiting for those full 2 years. I know this. We've had a lot more openings opening up. You know, with us taking over, starting to fill the EMS spots, and everything. So, this list didn't last the full 2 years. You know, we went through the list. We're in the process of getting a new one started. But, you know, it's a hard process, and it's meant to be that way. And so just do what you can to mentally prepare, read up on the departments, all that.
Yeah, it's not designed to give, and sometimes it's a side effect because everyone's different, but it's not designed to give anxiety. It's not designed to keep you up at night and stressing if I'm going to lose my job and my wife's not, you know, I'm going to lose, you know, all of a sudden I can't support my wife and my kids. It's not designed to do that. It's just, it's designed to be hard, to prepare you for what is can be a very hard job,
Right.
and one where you depend on each other, and one where we're a paramilitary organization, and we have to install, like, discipline and have a standard of skills, knowledge, and abilities. And if this is the best approach to doing that. And also, it's an earn your badge position. It's something where you have to earn your keep. I had probably some false expectations that I was going to show up and have 113 new best friends. And it's like, that's definitely not the case. And I'm not saying anything bad about the people we work with. It's just, they have to get to know you. They have to experience it with you.
Yeah.
And I would say overall, everyone is excited to get to know you. It's always fun when they get a new guy because they get at a station as a floater because they get to figure them out. And sometimes, you know, first impressions are everything. So sometimes that can go well. Sometimes that can go poorly. But it overall, like, no one is there out to get you or make your life too much harder than it needs to be. So as you go out, just like say, keep working hard, stay humble, stay patient, and then you guys will be just fine.
Yeah.
Who was the best of district? I think Jordy kind of mentioned he was pretty good, pretty sharp at it.
Yeah, it was probably
Jordy.
We were all pretty good.
Yeah. 90s and 100s.
Jordy can look at something, and all he has to do is look at it once, and he's got it pictured in his mind. He's got photographic memory.
Jordy
And
got
good to go.
100% on the final.
Yeah,
So,
if
good
that
for
tells
you.
you anything.
yeah.
Dr. Reinders.
Doctor.
We were all pretty good.
Oh, that's good. Who was? We'll start with. Was anybody like really bad at cooking?
No.
Everyone
I
did?
didn't cook a
How's
lot. I did a lot of assisting with the cooking. I like to make my McDoms every other Saturday or whatever it is.
What's a McDom?
It's just a bacon, egg, and cheese
McMuffin,
biscuit.
basically.
Yeah,
I like
but it
that.
just
We had
McDom-
names for everything.
McDom name.
What? Let's go around. What is? If you had to cook your best dish for a crew, what is it? Lucas.
Oh God.
Oh, I know.
Which one? Which one do you like the most?
You tell me what
I
you
was gonna
think.
say I like cooking a pot roast. I did
Yeah?
it's do some pepperoncinis in there.
Yep.
Some brown gravy, ranch seasoning, and cook that on low for
They call it
8 hours.
Mississippi mud pie or something
yeah,
like that. Yep.
yeah.
Is that the one you're thinking of?
I was thinking of jambalaya, but yeah.
Oh,
the pot
okay.
roast was
Jambalaya is pretty good too.
too.
Yeah, but and then towards the end, I discovered I could make a breakfast pizza.
You made that. You filled in for me one day.
Yeah.
Eight Foxes wouldn't shut up about it. So thanks.
You're
No. Dom, what about you? What's your best meal?
I mean, it's simple, but I liked making the breakfast. I think I did make a chicken bacon ranch sandwiches one time.
Mm-hmm.
I thought those were pretty good. So
Oh, yeah.
that was probably one of my favorite.
Jordy?
Hortellini and Horditos. That's what they called everything that I
What-
make.
what-
They'd use my name. So breakfast burritos and tortellini.
Oh, nice. I like that. What about your crew? What if you had to pick one meal from someone you worked with that could make a meal? Which one are you taking?
We got a pick out of all of them.
Yep. So you got Dusty Dykstra, DeRocher,
Oh man.
Ship.
That's
Those
tough.
guys are some good cooks too.
Yeah, they
are.
I was gonna say,
like,
I
putting
never
us on
had
the
a bad
spot.
meal.
like
No, we
Dusty's
had
fried-
0 bad meals there
No.
the entire year.
Dusty makes that fried rice,
I was-
jambalaya,
Fried
comes to
rice,
mind.
yeah. Greenville buckshot from
Yeah.
Cap.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably partial to DeRocher's chicken a la king
Oh yeah.
over biscuits.
Pretty good.
Did anybody make the Johnny Shoe beef stroganoff?
No.
No.
Oh, that one.
Nope.
So she used to work on that shift, so I didn't know if that recipe was still around.
Yeah, we never had that.
Fox cooks it from time to time. And then what else? Obviously Shipper coming up with something crazy on the smoker, the Blackstone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
He
can
made
make quite a
some-
few good ones too.
Some like flatbread pizzas or something once that were really good.
Those are fantastic.
And we all got a whole half, so it was delicious.
No, and when botch a meal, just really mess one up.
No.
No.
None, actually. We heard all the stories of, undercooked meat or
Yeah.
things like that. Oh.
There may have
Veach,
been.
Veach did make some chili.
Chili.
That was
Yeah.
so spicy that nobody could eat it except Lucas.
You could barely get through one bowl before Brandon had the
The meat sweat's going.
paper
The
towel
paper
in his
towel
hat,
under the
hat
sitting there
bills.
like, he's just dripping sweat down his face. It was funny.
It didn't taste bad. It was just so spicy.
It was really good. I had 3 bowls.
The flavor was on point. The
This is
spice
just-
level was a little too high.
I'll blow your colon chili.
Yeah.
I think he was blending some peppers, dried peppers in the blender. And we were sitting in the back room, and all of a sudden, our eyes just start watering. We're like, what is he doing out there?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really good. I like that a lot. And then I have a question on it. Keep in mind, Baker came up with a question. Any teachers' pets? Anyone was anyone a favorite to
Probably
your
Dom.
crew?
Jordy.
Dom.
I think it
I've
just
heard 3
depended.
different names.
I
yeah.
think it just depended on the day. One person was like doing everything right,
Yeah.
or one person was doing everything wrong, and the other guy was just kind of sitting in the corner.
Yeah, they play
know,
game.
like-
Who can pit each other
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
each other and
So
create your own
I think it
entertainment.
varied depending on the shift.
Yeah, it's always fun when you get the probates to turn on each other.
There was a couple of those. I think it was mainly my competitiveness.
Yeah.
If you ain't first, you're last attitude, and I'm gonna fault that to my dad. So, yeah.
Oh, that's good. No, good attitudes to have.
Yep.
And then when you guys started, you had a combined weight of 187 pounds. Who gained the most weight?
Probably me.
Put on a few pounds, the probationary weight.
15.
There you go.
Yep.
It's a good weight.
Yeah, mostly.
Okay. I went up a pant size and then came back down towards the end. A lot of dessert. You guys eat a lot of dessert on your shift?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of midnight snacks.
Yeah, I usually ate a second supper every night.
That's what happens when you stay up till 1 a.m.
Yeah, I was a night owl too, so
Perfect. You
I was
guys,
usually the last one to go to bed.
you guys go work out, as a crew
Yep.
together on
Yep.
shift?
Usually after dinner.
Okay.
The three of us would go in there. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I don't know how it is. I'm not stationed down there. I know some crews would go work at like 11 at night. I'm like, oh, physical fitness, very important here. So
Yeah.
I hope.
I don't think we win a shift without working out.
Good.
So that's another thing as you start is making sure you're in the gym, staying fit, and trying to gain more muscle mass.
Perfect. All right, one last question here. What do you? We'll start around with Jordy again. What are you guys looking forward to in your floating time and, seeing the department?
Well, right now I'm just looking forward to getting off of vacation. I'm about
you're ready to
just
come
over
back?
halfway through. I'm ready to come back. But
Okay.
I'm probably most excited with floating just to get out and be at all the stations and interact with everybody. 'Cause, most of the time for 11 months we were just at Station 3 with our crew, and then the last month or so we got floated out a little bit more, and it was really nice to just talk to other people and see how they do things, learn some tricks, have some different food.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Tom?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Just getting out there and get to know kind of the atmosphere at each station, how each crew kind of interacts. Maybe one might, joke around with each other a little more than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then being able to sign up for overtime and work on the shift you came on or
Yeah.
on a shift that you've never been on, and just
Yep.
working with different people, getting to know everyone. I think that's probably my biggest thing I'm looking forward to.
The best part about floating is the variety and just seeing
Yeah.
different stations. I picked up my first assignment at 8 about a year ago, and if I get overtime or do a time trade, I get a little excited every now and then just to work with a different crew.
Yeah.
So don't take that for granted. Don't wish the floating days away.
Yep.
They went quick for me. Lucas?
Yeah, just getting to see the other crews, other rigs, other districts. Be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
I start tomorrow.
Yeah, happy to hear all that. Get involved, guys. Everything from like the golf tournaments to the fun stuff we do to, don't force anything you don't want to do either. I think we have so many great teams like rig committee, HR team, physical fitness team, peer fitness or peer support, all that stuff.
Yeah.
If it's not a strength of yours and this because they're looking for someone, doesn't mean you have to do it either. But if you're like, USAR really interests me and I really want to do dive or whatever it is, get involved in it and really campaign for yourself to do it. But don't just do it for you think it'll make you look better or a title, because you can't fake it in that
Right.
areas. And also know like your limits of what you can do and can handle. You can do some stuff, you can't do everything either. But that'd be the advice I give you guys. Just really get out there and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Get involved. Find something you like and stick with it.
Yeah, I've already noticed very fast, even a year ago, how fast you gain, friendships with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I've gained so many friends, all these guys, and just going out and golfing with them on my days off now, and
Yeah.
just something that never would have happened before. But
Yeah,
it's
and
awesome.
you're gonna find it with like guys of all ranks and ages and things like that. And it's maybe it's just me. I feel like it's turning into a younger department. We've had a lot of turnover. We've had
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of we have a lot of people in our 20s that work here.
Yep.
I felt when I started, it was a lot. I felt like I was really young. I was 20, and I felt like there was no one even near me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I think there's can be a lot of options
Yeah,
and
it's-
opportunities to, have a lot people and do
Yeah.
some fun things in your days off and go hunting, fishing, golfing, all those things.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast, we got, 9 people under us already?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, hiring a
like-
lot. It's only going to be more.
A year ago, we were the first ones off the list, and now there's 9 more people that were hired.
Yeah.
Just holy crap.
Yeah.
That was fast.
People are always excited. It's kind of like the Billy Madison thing where you're like, stay in school.
Yeah.
Don't grow up. Don't do it. And I'm like, I think that's very true. Just enjoy where you're at. Never wish away a second
Right.
of it.
Yeah, I enjoy every moment of it. It's all part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, Ben, when I started, I didn't know, that there were so many things that we could be involved in, so many committees, so many specialties, so many disciplines. You can go to any class that you want, basically, if you get approved for it. There's
Yeah.
so much outside of just, we're going on calls in the city that you can do.
Sure. And it isn't always going to work out either. You're going to get told no. You're going to have an idea get shut down. And I think what's really important is to stay resilient too, and just stick with it and stay positive, and not find that a reason to throw in the towel and say, all right, well, I'm done with this. I tried to join, they didn't let me in. You know, staying resilient shows a lot of character.
Yeah, definitely.
Things aren't always going to go right the first time.
Right.
Perfect. Anyone else got anything?
I was gonna say this really is the best job in the world.
That's
People
awesome.
ask me all the time, "Oh, you work for 24 hours? How do you do that?" Well, you know,
It's easy.
it's easy.
I sleep for a third of it.
Yeah,
You try
do.
to, anyways.
You try to. You don't always get to, but
Yep.
you know when you do, you take it. But then I tell people I only work 120 days out of the year. The rest of the time I get to spend with family, friends. You take one day off and you got 5,
Yeah.
and it's pretty great. It's awesome. You get to work hard. You get to see so many different things. You get to do so many different things. And
How are the families adjusting to the work schedule?
mine was kind of used to it. I was doing, God, before we even moved to Arizona, I do 96-hour stretches
Okay.
back home. Come back here. I was a scribe at Luke's, so I do that 2 days of the week. Have 1 day off and then go work 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was pretty used to it. But it's almost worse going to 8-hour day. When I transitioned from EMS to fire, we have our 4 weeks, and God, that was awful.
Yeah, working every day.
Yeah.
Yep. When I came back from deployment, I did like 2 or 3 weeks of like retraining.
Yeah.
It was last week was really really rough. That was all I needed it too. I was really rusty. But what about you guys? Family's doing well? Getting
Yeah,
used to it?
my fiance, she knew that I wanted to be a firefighter ever since we met. And my dad obviously has been in the department, so she knew how his schedule worked and kind of how my mom dealt with that, and it's been good so far. So
Perfect.
just getting used to it.
Jordy, I can't remember you.
It's just me. So
you? All
but
right.
yeah, I mean, my parents like it because they can come down and see me every other day if they
Sure.
really wanted to.
Your
Basically,
parents from Orange
so-
City?
Yep.
Sweet. Yeah.
So
It's a-
my mom's here all the time, or I'll come home from work and there'll be something new in my apartment. It's like, oh,
Easy trip. All right, Sioux City's most eligible bachelor. You're Jordy.
Heard it first.
We've been trying
The whole year.
the whole year.
whole year,
All right, we'll keep
pretty
it
much
up.
every shift. Jordy, got anyone else thinking about or what?
Nope.
It's all right. Yeah, that's fun. I think it's about it. Thanks for taking the time, giving an insight. It's a fun episode.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem. It was a little bit different. I'm sure Phil and Devin wish they were here for this one. This was cool, but that would have been a lot of talking. We would have a lot, and then of course every time he said something, he would have Devin. I'm sure setting the record
Giving you the-
straight on how it actually was.
Easy how you say that there.
That's good. That's a good Devin impression. Awesome. I think that's about it. Probably a good hour 15. So thanks for your guys' time. Good luck with everything. Enjoy your
Thank
guys'
you.
vacation, and
Thank you.
see you around.
Yep, we'll see you.
All right, Ryan, drop the tones.